Hello and welcome to My Finance Teacher. Happy New Year, everyone, and I hope you have a prosperous 2019. In this video, I want to have a look at gold. Gold has been performing pretty well since mid-November, and I want to have a look at the factors that might lead to a decline in price, some negative factors for gold moving forward, as well as some factors that might point to a possible further increase in the price of gold. And unfortunately, I think there are more factors that point to a possible weakness in gold over the next couple of months or so. Let's have a look at those. So firstly, 14-day RSI has already entered into overbought territory. So that means that there is some potential for price to reverse and start moving downwards, maybe relatively soon because of the duration of normal daily cycles. Normal daily cycles last for about 2 to 3 months, and this daily cycle has been going on since mid-November. It's been going on for nearly 2 months already, and over the next several weeks, I expect this daily cycle to enter its declining phase, possibly giving us some sort of a local low in gold sometime close to the end of January. That would be in accordance with potential FOMC rate hike. Another factor that is kind of negative for gold is that it is close to resistance level, or already at the resistance level that is, well, somewhere around 1290 to about 1309 or so. Gold has just entered that resistance zone. Of course, there is still potential for gold to continue moving forward at least up to 1309. But again, it is already at this resistance level and it might turn back down any moment. Another factor that I want to mention while we're on this chart is the intermediate cycle in gold, which generally lasts for half a year. The current one has been going on since mid-August. That's like 4.5 months for now. But what it means is there are only about a couple of months left, generally, in this intermediate cycle if it follows a normal duration. Hence, gold is sort of due for some sort of correction, due to enter into the declining phase of that intermediate cycle. Possibly for all of those reasons, gold miners, this is the chart of GDX, do not really confirm any strength in gold that we've been observing since sort of mid-December. If we have a look at gold chart, since mid-December, gold has increased by around $40 from around $1250 to around $1290, whereas GDX hasn't really moved anywhere much since mid-December. So GDX is not confirming this strength in gold, and that's another factor that I think is not really positive in terms of possible future for the gold price. Another potentially negative factor is over here on the chart of the US dollar. We've seen sort of a local low recently, a couple of days ago in US dollar at about 95.6. Currently, the US dollar is at about 96.35, and I think it might continue increasing for another week or two. The reason for that is because I think US dollar has just finished one of these short-term or daily cycles, and it's entering another daily cycle. It might rise towards 97.5 or so before it enters into the declining phase of this intermediate cycle that has been going on since mid-September. So over the next couple of weeks, while dollar is strengthening, that might be difficult for gold to continue moving up, and the gold might actually even drop down into this, at least a daily cycle low, as I said, for gold towards the end of January. Next, let's look at FOMC meeting. That's at the end of January, and that's another factor that might provide some headwind for the price of gold, because the market expects a rate hike, and over the last couple of years, not every time, but mostly, gold declined into these expectations of rate hikes. And finally, last one for these negative factors for gold, S&P 500 seems that it's recovering over the last week or so. Looks like the intermediate cycle has finally bottomed in the end of December. If this recovery continues, that might as well provide some sort of a headwind for gold moving forward. But on the other side, on the other hand, as I mentioned, the US dollar has already been in this intermediate cycle since mid-September. That gives us sort of 3 to 4 months. And it might not be that long until it's due for a declining phase of this intermediate cycle. So if this recent recovery in US dollar that we've seen over the last couple of days doesn't really continue, and if it breaks down into sort of an early declining phase and relatively short intermediate cycle, that might help gold price quite a lot, and gold might actually break through this resistance zone. And lastly, another positive factor for gold is a nice cross over here where 20-day moving average is crossing above the 200-day moving average. And actually the same thing is happening with the 50-day moving average not crossing yet, actually, potentially coming close to crossing above this 200-day moving average. So if over the next several days this 50-day moving average crosses above the 200-day moving average, that gives us a golden cross, generally considered to be a very bullish sign. But how reliable is it? I'm not really sure about that. We've seen this golden cross in mid-2017 when gold price was at about $12.50, and we are not that far from $12.50 at the moment. So based on all of these factors, I think there is, well, let's say about 70% chance gold continues for another couple of days deeper into that resistance zone, and after that it drops into a daily cycle low and potentially a relatively early intermediate cycle low, all the way down to the level, well, 1240 looks like a good target for that decline. And the remaining 30% is for the scenario when gold again continues into this resistance zone close to 1309 and then retests this breakout from the channel that it's been in since mid-August. Retakes this breakout, probably declining towards, say, 1270, 1280. That will give us a relatively shallow daily cycle low. And it continues the intermediate cycle, probably reaching another resistance somewhere close at about 1360. This is a possibility, but it's a less likely one, I think. What do you guys think about the gold price? Will it break above 1300 next week? Tell me in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and have a nice day.